2. Instead of identifying, we're going to graph quadratics in standard form. Graph quadratics in standard form. Alright, here we go. 40 after. You're welcome. Shh. Gentlemen over there, let's be quiet. Alright, topic. Every day. Okay. Alright, so yesterday we were given graphs of quadratic functions and we had to identify the parts to them, correct? So now, we're not going to be given the graphs, I'm just going to be given the function. We now need to graph it. Oops. I wrote function, I meant form. My bad. All right, so how do I graph a quadratic function in standard form? I wrote function twice. All right, standard form. What is standard form? Yes, when you're writing your answer for adding and subtracting, yes. But when we're talking about graphing, what does it mean to be standard form? There's two different ones now. And this starts with f of x. There's no parentheses in this one. Look back, we wrote it yesterday. Mm-mm. Ax squared? There we go. All right, so standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, we're going to have to find the vertex now, okay? You could go through the whole process of putting it into vertex form, or we can just show you how to solve for vertex form, just the vertex here, okay? So you could rewrite it into vertex form. That's not wrong, but that just takes a lot more steps, okay? So the way to find the vertex, because remember, vertex is h comma k, yes? So you could put it into vertex form to find the vertex. Or we can solve for just the vertex. And in order to solve for just the vertex, it's x equals negative b over 2a. Then what you do is you plug back into the function to find y. And then you will get your point, x comma y, or h comma k. So you could go through the process of putting it into vertex form first. How do you put it into vertex form? That's what we did the other day. Start with a C. We wrote it down yesterday. Next to vertex form. Completing the square. So we could complete the square to find the vertex. Or you can also use this function, this little equation. Okay? So either way is right. So if you understand completing the square and you want to do it, that's fine. But sometimes you get fractions and then it's ugly. All right? Make sense? Now, we talked about A the other day. But we didn't talk a whole lot. We said some things about A. What does A tell us? What does the little a tell us? There is no slope here. Told us something yesterday. We wrote it down.
Oh, positive.
Positive, it's what? Up, and negative, it's down. It also told us then if it's down, it has a maximum, and if it's up, it has a minimum, okay? So it's also going to tell us if it's a whole number, we have what we call a skinny parabola, or the nicer word is narrow. So it's also going to tell us if it's a whole number, well, we have a skinny parabola, or it's a little bit narrow. But if it's a fraction, then you have a fat parabola, or wide. Only reason why I say fat, it's kind of easy to remember if fractions are fat. Fat fraction. Wide is a better term, but same thing. All right, here comes your notebook page. You're going to go ahead and cut out the directions along with the first one. Kayla, turn your phone over. Thank you. We good? Just one? Welcome. Anyone else? That one? Do you need one?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, cutting out the directions in number one. Don't put it there. Your mom's not here to clean. Up there. The second tray. Second tray. There you go. All right, first thing first, what I want you to do is identify A, B, and C. So I want you to label what A equals, B equals, and C equals, just right above the graph. So what does A equal, B equal, and C equal? right, what's A? 1. What's B? 6. And what's C? All right. Just so we're ready for the questions ahead. Okay? All right, so we're going to start. You ready? We're going to start with the y-intercept. Now, if I remember correctly, I already know how to solve for the y-intercept. What does it mean to be a y-intercept? It's on the y-axis. So then what happens? What do I plug in? 0 for what? For x. So x equals 0, which means we're doing f of x, or f of 0, sorry, equals 0 squared plus 6 times 0 plus 3. And we know 0 squared is what? 0. And we know 6 times 0 is what? 0. So what's our answer? 3. So the ordered pair, 0, 3. Yeah? That's review. Yes? Okay. All right, axis of symmetry. Remember yesterday, we said the axis of symmetry and the vertex have what in common? Yeah, the x is the same, right? So whatever I get here is the same for here, and whatever I have here is the same for here, right? So remember that the equation at the top, and this is where I want you guys to just watch for a second. So that equation at the top said x equals negative b over 2a, correct? So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to solve it over here on the side. So x equals negative b over 2a. Well, I'm going to plug in, what is my negative b? So what's my b term? I already read it. What is it? It's 6 over 2 times what's my a term? 1. So I get negative 6 over 2, which is what? Negative 3. Does that make sense? Okay, so now all I know is my axis of symmetry is what I was looking for. Well, I found it. It's x equals negative 3, because that's also part of my vertex, which is negative 3 comma something. Because yesterday I learned that the vertex and the axis of symmetry are the same exact x values, right? Because that axis of symmetry goes right through the vertex, and since it goes right through the vertex, it's the same x. And since I just found the part of the vertex, I can also call it the axis of symmetry. Does that make sense? That's the equation.
Oh, okay.
We wrote it at the top. Okay? All right, so then I need to find my y value. And it says I need to take whatever I find and plug it back into the function to find my y. So what am I plugging in for x? Negative 3. So I'm just going to do f of negative 3 equals negative 3 squared plus 6 times negative 3 plus 3. Right? So now I'm just solving it. If you're not writing, it's okay, you can watch for a second. So then I need to see, okay, well, what is negative 3 squared? Positive 9 or negative 9? Positive 9. What's 6 times negative 3? Negative 18 plus the 3. So 9 minus 18 is what? Negative 9 plus 3 is what? Negative 6. So f of negative 3 is negative 6. So my vertex is negative 3 comma negative 6. Does that make sense? Okay, write it down. I'll give you a few seconds. If you already have it, then you're good. I'll keep that in too, I promise. In public. My teeth become like ice in the front. Did you make moves? Oh, okay. Are we good? Ready for the next part? All right, the next part says end behavior. Which one determines the end behavior? A, B, C, y-intercept, isometry, vertex. What determines end behavior? Which one? It's not C. It's A. A determines end behavior. If A is positive, which way is it going? Or for the right, end behavior. EB. Not east depending, but end behavior. All right, letter E. Min and max. So if it's going up, it's a minimum. Letter F. Narrow or wide? Which one? Why is it narrow? It's not a what? It's not a fraction. And lastly, letter G, domain and range. We're going to do domain and range in a second. Okay? Because the domain is actually easy. It's always what? Negative infinity to positive infinity. Domain is always the same. That doesn't change. The range is going to change based on my graph. Sometimes it's easier to see the graph before you write range. Understood? So we're going to graph it first. The way we're going to graph is I want you to watch how I graph. Because I'm not going to start with A. Oh no. I'm going to start with the vertex. Why am I going to start with vertex? Isn't that your starting point? So I'm going to start with the starting point. The starting point is -3, -6. So I'm going to go -3, which is to the left, -6, which is down. And I need to look at the graph because it's harder. There we go. All right? That's my vertex. So the vertex is done. Check. Next is my only other point up here is my y-intercept, right? So I'm going to graph the y-intercept. The y-intercept is at 0, 3. 0, 3 is located there. Well, let's talk about this. My parabola is a U shape, correct? Well, right now, it doesn't look like a U at all. It kind of looks like it's going to be a line. So I need to make it a U. And I only have 2 points to graph. So this is the part where you have to just pay close attention. It's really easy, but you need to pay attention to how I get it. Remember, the axis of symmetry does what to your parabola? Cuts it in half. So whatever is over here is where? Over there. Yeah? Make sense? Okay, so my vertex is the only point that's not the same as any other thing, right? So I'm going to figure out how did I get from here to here. So I look over and I'm like, oh wait, there's 1, 2, 3, three spaces that way. Yeah? And then I went up whatever that is. So if I go over to the other side 3 spaces, 1, 2, and 3, and go up, I can mirror my picture like that. Do you understand? So since I looked and I was like, well, I have this point and I have this point. So if I look, how many did I go to the right? Oh, that's 3, and then whatever up that is. But if I mirror on the other side, I also go left 3, so 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to go up just the same and stick my point right there. So now I can actually make my parabola. Now when you graph this, this is the important part. It is a curve. It is not straight lines coming in. That's an absolute value which we'll graph later. It is a curve. So when you come in, remember it's coming in an angle. It's not going straight up, right? It's going out, and it has to curve at the bottom. So you need to make sure, no, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's hard to graph. But when you're graphing them, make sure you're coming in from an angle. You curve it at the bottom. Is it perfect? No. Can I tell it's a curve at the bottom? Yes. Can I tell I'm going kind of out? Yes. Okay? What I don't want to see is straight lines. And I don't want to see it do this. Because I've seen that. What's wrong with that? It's not going out, right? And my domain means it needs to keep going out. And when I go straight up and down, it's no longer a function. So I will mark you off. I don't care if all the work is right, but if you do not graph it correctly, you lose points. All right, so now let's do the range. Range is based on which one, x's or y's? On y's. So if I look at my y values, Looking at the lowest point, which is what? Yeah, -6. To the highest point, which is what? Infinity. Very good. So we're going to go bracket -6. We're going to go up to positive infinity. No bracket. We okay? A little bit? A little bit tricky? I'm going to add to it Monday. But for now, we're just going to stick with this. No, we're going to do another 2. But there's more pieces of the graph, we just don't have them all. All right? So we're going to go ahead and glue in. We're not going to glue in 2. We're going to glue in number 3. We'll glue in 2 later, but right now I want to do number 3. All right, first thing I want you to do once you glue in number 3 is I want you to identify A, B, and C. So go ahead and identify A, B, and C. All right. You have A? No. No, what does it smell like? I'm scared. Lettuce? That's disgusting. I had some one time that smelled like Doritos. It does smell like lettuce. It's gross. I will never buy the Target glue ever again. Because the Target glue smelled like Doritos. But it was like stinky, like Doritos. Not like nacho cheese, but like corn. It was gross. Yeah. And it was gross. We know what we're going to give him for Christmas. Stale Doritos. Alright, A is what, guys? -1. B is what? 6. C is what? -11. You should already have y-intercept because that's the easy one, right? Y-intercept means that all you're doing is plugging in 0 for x. So f of 0 equals negative times 0 squared plus 6 times 0 minus 11, which is, what? Negative 11? Sorry. So my ordered pair is 0, negative 11? Yeah? Not going to fit on my graph, but that's okay. We'll talk about it in a little bit. All right, vertex. Or axis of symmetry, sorry. I always want to do that out of order. Axis of symmetry, x equals a number. How do we find that? We say x equals negative something over 2 times something. Notice I like to put parentheses and leave my negative there, because if I already have a negative, I get confused, and if I don't have a negative, I might forget that. So I like to always leave the negative on the outside of the parentheses first. So what is my b going to be on top? It's going to be a 6. What's my a on the bottom? Negative 1. So when I multiply, negative times 6 is what? Negative 6 over? Negative 2. So what is negative 6 divided by negative 2? God bless you. Positive 3. Yes? Did I find part of my vertex? Yes. So I know it's 3 comma something. How do I find the something? Sorry. I plug in what? Positive 3 for what? For x. So I'm going to say f of positive 3 equals negative times 3 squared plus 6 times 3 minus 11. This is where you will get it wrong if you are not careful. That does not say negative 3 squared. That says 3 squared with a negative. So when I do order of operations, I'm going to do what? The exponent first, which means I take 3, I square that, which is what? 9, and then I put the negative. So my answer is actually negative 9. Then I get to multiply 6 times 3, which is what? 18. And then I subtract 11. So negative 9 plus 18 is what? Positive 9 minus 11 is what? Negative 2. So my point is in 3, negative 2. Good? All right, you should be able to do E, D, B, and D, E, and F. I can say the alphabet. D is end behavior. E is max or min. F is narrow or wide. Sorry. So you should be able to do all 3 of those based on what letter up there? A. Ready? And behavior what? Down. Yeah? Min or max? Min or max? Max. Near or wide? Who's right? Good, that was last night's homework anyways, right? Okay, well, except for this one. Next part. Letter G, domain and range. I don't know yet, let's graph it. Oops. Shouldn't have put that, oh well. So let's graph. We have our vertex. Our vertex is located at 3, -2. So we're going to graph at 3, -2. Now my y-intercept is 0, -11. Well, my graph only goes to -8, correct? So it's not going to fit on my graph. But I do know that I can still graph this. When I graph it though, you need to be careful. When you make your arrows coming down, do I want to cross the y-axis right now? No, so I need to make sure I stay within this side of the graph. Because I'm not crossing the y-axis, so I get to -11, which is somewhere down here, correct? So I need to make sure when I graph this, it stays within the graph. Also, I forgot to graph on the last one, the axis of symmetry. So we need to make sure you always have the axis of symmetry. So when I graph it, it looks something like that. It's coming down, but it's still going out just a little bit. It's kind of narrow because I can't cross the y-axis yet because I need to make it at -11, and I'm not there. Does that make sense? All right, you're going to do example 2. We'll identify A, B, and C together. And then I want you to do as much as you can by yourself. If you get stuck, you can talk to someone next to you to figure out if you're on the same path or if you got it and they don't, or vice versa. And if you're both lost, we're going to go over it in a second. Oh, so what's domain? I forgot. Domain is always -infinity to what? Positive infinity. I can't make my infinity sign right now. My range is what? -infinity to what? To -2. Why is it backwards? Because it's going down. Make sense? Okay. Let's go do number 2. That will be our last example. It looks backwards to the last one we wrote. Stop working on last night's homework. Okay. Tired? A, B, and 0. Okay, what's A, guys? -2. What's B? 0. Why is it 0? There's no x term. And what's your C? -1. That good? Okay. Keep it going. Ready? If you got stuck on anything, it was letter B and letter C. You should be able to solve most of it again until you get to range, right? So if you got stuck, you should still be able to do end behavior, max, min, narrow, or wide. You can always do the domain, but then the range would get stuck because you're stuck on the vertex, correct? Okay, y-intercept. How do you plug in for the y-intercept? 0 for what? For x. So you should be seeing that. Oops. What is going away? Everything except for which one? Which is which letter? C. Oh, so y-intercept is just okay, but it only works for standard form. After that, you have to actually solve it no matter what. All right, next part. Axis of symmetry, which means you're plugging in x is equal to negative b over 2a. What is your b? 0. What's your a? Negative 2. So I get 0 over negative 4, which is what? 0. So x equals 0. So in my vertex, oh wait, didn't I already solve for something that had 0?
Yes.
What was it? The one above it, the y-intercept. So I get 0 comma what? Negative 1. Remember, it's a function, so if I plug in 0, I'm always going to get what? In this one, negative 1, right? So if I get the same answer twice, then that point is just the same thing, which means my vertex and my y-intercept are exactly the same. All right, letter D, end behavior. Which way? Down. Letter E, maximum. Letter F, narrow. Those you should be able to do by yourself, correct? That part's not anything difficult. All you do is look at letter A and you just decide. If it's positive, we're going up. If it's negative, we're going down. We look at what that means. That was yesterday's notes and today's notes. That is nothing. There is no math really there, right? That's basic memorization. Letter G, domain and range. Domain is what? Negative infinity, comma, positive infinity. If you don't know how to do the range yet, let's graph it. So we're graphing our vertex at 0, negative 1. So 0, negative 1. We're going which way? Down. I need to have my axis of symmetry. Even though it's going through 0, 0, I need to make sure I graph it so I can see it. And since it's relatively narrow and I have nothing else, I'm just going to kind of curve it going down. We could find some, but that requires more work. Do you want to do that? Okay. We could. Some teachers make you. All right, what's your range? Negative infinity to negative 1 with a bracket.
No, I thought you said
Infinity is always parentheses.
So if it's a negative 8, it's max.
That was yesterday's notes. We good? Questions? All right, I am done with that. So what's going to happen is we have approximately 2 minutes left of class. You're going to pick up. I'm also going to pass out homework. Listen to my directions. You are only doing numbers 1 and numbers 2 in your homework. Don't cross out the others, but can you handle 1 and 2? Okay.